The idea of Native people in the 20th century seems to be the image that people, some people, I don't want to generalize, some people have the hardest time grasping, is that we can actually live and exist and be unique in the 20th century, whether we're wearing jeans, and fancy designer shoes, speaking English, and that's the kind of thing I want people to learn about and understand.
This vast territory is the traditional homeland to more than 9,000 descendants of a people known anciently as the Gayaga, the people of the Flint. Today, these people are known as the Mohawks of Ganawage. Their contemporary land base is situated on the south shore of Montreal, and they are one of the 8 communities that make up the Mohawk Nation. Despite many obstacles and threats to their existence as a distinct people, they have kept their culture alive, remained true to their identity, and have continued the legacy left by their ancestors. They have remembered in their minds and kept alive in their hearts what history chose to forget.
Generally, history stops when Native people are on reservations, and after that, they've disappeared. You know, no one's very interested in them. From about, say, the 1800s on, we've vanished from the history books, and sometimes we don't even appear at all. You look in a textbook or a history book, and you'll see written, when Columbus came, there was Native people here, and after that, there's nothing. It's like we vanished.
People want to deny and want to ignore and want to sweep under the rug the past. And for us, the past is the present is the future. So there's a linkage there, there's a continuity that we have to continue to maintain. If we allow ourselves to forget about that, and if we allow others to say you must forget about that or legally legislate it out of existence, then we are actually committing our own genocide, or allowing others to do that to us.
What I'm in is ethnohistory. It's a combination of history and anthropology, looking at Native people through documents that have been written about them and through oral history to try to put a more complete picture of Native history together.
Looking back in history, our people have always occupied this area over here, whether it was the island of Montreal or whether it was here on the South Shore, as it's called. And Ganawage is not, the name Ganawage describes a place, a site, and the site being at the rapids or above the rapids or besides the rapids, whichever translation you want to use. But basically, our people have always been in this region over here, and some of the people do come from the Mohawk Valley, which is now known as New York State, came to this region. And our people have said that we've always been here.
Our history doesn't begin in 1492 or 1530s, when Cartier came up the river, and we did exist before then. We managed just fine. We have our own history that goes back, our own political systems, our own history, our own languages, and that is not it's not focused on in any curriculum that I know of in the high schools. It's important for me to know, and it's important for other people to know, that we weren't just wandering around the bushes until Cartier came or Columbus came and discovered us, that we'd had an existence prior to that.
Mohawk people's existence starts at the dawn of time. Their ancient beginnings on Earth are recorded in their creation story.
At this point in time, what I've come to understand about our creation story, they we understand, we call ourselves Ungwe Hungwe. That means we are real people, that we are people of earth and spirit together, and we walk upon the earth, we are visible. But the people the spirit where we came from, they were called Ungwe, and that was in the sky world. And in our creation story, it says there was a whole spirit world before they became the earth. And the people in that world, they lived upon that world. There came a time when they say, there's a whole story about that happening, but there was a man and woman, and life was to begin there, the initial spirit life. And there was a hole dug in the sky world, and in that world fell this sky woman. And as she fell to the earth, she brought with her many things. When she came to the earth, what we know of it was just a watery world, they said. And there was only the animal spirits of water. And in the story, as it progresses, there were many, she said she landed on the wings of the blue herons. And they carried her to the water world. And amongst them, they decided to put her on the back of the turtle. And it says that woman, she put that earth on the back of the turtle, and she began to dance a song of life. And if you look at the Iroquois way, she danced in a counterclockwise way, and life began to grow. And it says every time she danced, every circle she danced in, she said the earth grew. And it grew. When we tell the story in a fairy tale way. She danced, and in minutes the earth developed into what it was. But when you listen to people, they say every time she danced, that was the cycle of the seasons.
As life continued to evolve, human beings were created and given instructions on how to live.
The Creator, they gathered us on the earth, all of living things, and they gave us the same original instructions. And it says, all things I put before you. The only thing the Creator asks is that we take what we need and we give thanks.
And so, from the beginning of time, the people have honored the Creator's instructions through song, dance, and ceremony.
Amongst Mohawks, our way of ceremonies evolved. So we burn tobacco, and we have songs, and we still sing the same songs that Sky Woman sang when the earth began to grow. Everything that we are today, we have been given instructions to be.
Most native people, the family follows matrilineal, the mother's line, because you know who your children are. And so for myself, I'm Wolf Clan, and I have 3 sons, and so my clan passes on to them. And in the longhouse, when you're doing ceremonies, all of these things are based on your clan. The clans each have responsibility.
Women are the ones who carry life. So all of the things that deal with life are women-oriented. The earth is woman. The earth is female. That's why the women, they dance, they say their dance, they call that wasit dagonsaranyo. They rub their feet on the earth. They never lose contact with the earth. That's their responsibility. The sun or the moon is female, and so that grandmother moon works with the cycle of life, and so she works with living things. The sun provides the heat for life to grow, and that's what the men's responsibility is, to help the family to grow. The men are the hunters. They travel. Sometimes they may not come back for 6 months. See? But the woman is the one who every day she gets up and she feeds her children. Every day she feeds them their culture. She clothes them, and she takes care of them if they're sick. That's the woman's responsibility. The men today, they do ironwork and they go far away. Who takes care of our world? The women do. So when you look at the responsibility of the women, they have a big weight on their shoulders. They're very, very important.
The men can only be strong if the women are strong. It's a balance. It's that whole thing that Charlie talked about, as far as everything in the world working together.
in this land, it says the Oklahoma people, our responsibility was to be caretakers of the earth. Sure, we had territories which we were part of, and we took care of, and I guess we even defended our territories. But we still, the underlying idea was we took care of our mother. You know, the teachings came from thousands of years of this mind. And they always tell us, you have to always look 7 generations in the future. So that 7 generations in your future, the ones who are yet unborn can still live in this land, and they will still call their mother the earth. See? But with that, it means that there's a lot of work that has to be done.
The women watch. The women might not be as vocal as the men, but the women watch, and if they see the people are going down a way that's destructive, then that's their responsibility to remind those people, those men, those women, those children, that this is going to hurt everybody. We have a responsibility to think about everybody, not just what we want, not just how we're going to succeed, but how we'll all be able to live on this earth together in a good way.
Can you put your paddles down?
There was a time, if you look in our evolution, when we forgot that. And we got confused, huh? And there came a time we forgot about family and how to take care of each other. So then came the coming of clans and the original times when the people were given the responsibility of clans. And clans brought us back to working as families. There came a time when we forgot about that again and how to give thanks. Then came the coming of Gairin Yoriboge, the 4 sacred ceremonies. And they taught us the responsibility again of the original instructions. They said, go back and give, and this is what the Creator originally told you. Now these ceremonies, they formalize how you do that. So it got us back on track. There was a time we forgot about peace, and we would kill each other in the wars before the great law of peace. And the peacemaker brought skono, got niguhlio, got satstansra. 3 words, the 3 original instructions. Always in our ceremonies and everything in our teachings and in our history, we were always brought back to the original mind, skono, peace. Got niguhlio, having a good mind, and the kind of way of ceremony and spirituality, and gasatstansra. It means that when you have that, then there will be power here. There will be goodness. The Creator will walk amongst us. See? And that's what, you know, when you look at the women, they're the carriers of that. They're the ones that teach their children.
Tell us your name?
Skayawio.
Skayawio. What are you doing here today, Skayawio?
I'm dancing.
What kind of dances are you going to be doing?
Traditional and Pow-wow. My smoke dances.
Do you like to dress up and dance?
Yeah.
Yeah? Tell me a little bit about that when you're dancing.
It's actually fun, but sometimes when you have to do the jump, you might, sometimes your slipper falls off and your slipper comes down and you need to fix it. So, but you just have to let it stay like that when you're dancing.
Okay. So we'll be seeing you out there later on?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be in the competition?
Yeah.
Yeah, tell us about that.
It's gonna be fun though. Lots of fun for me. And there's big guys coming out too, and I'm not gonna be out first. The bigger guys are gonna be out first, so I don't know what I'm gonna say now. That's it.
The arrival of Europeans marked the beginning of profound change to the way of life of Aboriginal peoples. It also marked the beginning of conflict and created a misunderstanding which continues to the present day.
I think if you really look at the whole where the misunderstandings begin, you have to almost begin right at the beginning. You know, that when people came here, they came here with a different way. Their way was very much different than what the people's understanding of the relationship here. Because 500 years ago, Columbus got lost at sea, and he crossed that ocean, and he brought with him a whole different way. And that way, if we really look at it, it came to destroy our people. And so it has. It has destroyed much of our cultures. It has taken our land. It has, and even the land, when we look at the land was pure, and now we can't drink the water in the river, and the fish are sick. So we see that much that came, it had a different way than this land.
The conflict between our people and other non-native people has been one where a people have come from another part of the world and immediately attempted to impose a way of life and an order on society which disregards our rights and which disregards and disrespects us as a people as having a different way of life that is just as that is co-equal or just as valuable as their own. Our people, whether in economic, military, or social terms, have always been contesting that. So our people, and the reason that we have been so vilified, the reason that we have been so focused on as being an aggressive, hostile people, is because we have been aggressive and hostile in fighting that attempted imposition. And whether you look back in the 16th century, the 17th century, or today, it's still Mohawk people resisting the imposition of another set of rules and another order on our people. And it's never been, I would assert, I would defend, it's never been an aggressively hostile action for the sake of being aggressively hostile. It's been, in a broad sense, defensive.
When people came, they stuck their flag in our land, and they said that we own this, we claim this in the name of our queen. Well, they never ever took consideration that there was human beings on this land, and they had responsibility to this land. And all the policies since that first flag got stuck into that earth evolved around the fact that we took this land, and all of the Indian people, you have to listen to us from now on. We will control your destiny. I think they call that manifest destiny. See, and if you look at all the way the society has evolved, Indian people were pushed further and further and further and further back. People were pushed into small clumps of land.
We own a very small fraction of the territory that we used to own in a legal sense of the word, or even in a territorial sense in terms of what we occupy. And people still vilified Kahnawake in 1990. Now, that's a defensive action no matter what anybody says. But yet the idea of Mohawks as being aggressive and hostile is so ingrained in the outside culture that any action we take, the natural response is to characterize us that way.
The negative characterization of Mohawk people overshadows the positive contributions they have made to society. Without more knowledge, this negative image will continue to dominate people's beliefs.
There's no real education or understanding on really key issues. On the outside society, they're not even taught history. Most people in Quebec don't even know the relations between Mohawks and their people in the past. They don't know that Native people contributed to defending the idea of Canada in the War of 1812. They don't know that our people serve in the Canadian military in every war to defend this country in spite of everything that's happened. They don't know the contributions that our people have made to the world at large in giving them corn and potatoes and tomatoes and everything that they use to survive on today. They don't know this.
Another unknown part of history is the cooperative relationships that were formed during the colonial period between the Aboriginal and European nations. Just as the Great Law of Peace was an agreement among the 5 nations to work together cooperatively, this belt of wampum is a treaty of friendship and alliance, The 2 rows of purple symbolize 2 vessels traveling down the same river. It is an agreement to live and work together peacefully while respecting the independence of each nation.
We have tried to emphasize that as much as possible, both internally as well as externally. Is the relationship, the coexisting relationship that we have with our neighbors around us. And throughout history, it doesn't matter whether it was the British, whether it was the French, whether it was the Americans, or whoever it was, we managed to be able to balance between ourselves and them the principles that we believe in, and be able to establish a relationship with them. And the relationship was based on peace and friendship and coexistence and harmony. That's encompassed in, I guess, a relationship that was established many, many centuries ago, and that is the Gaswanta, Tegini de Ohade, or the 2-row wampum, as it's called. The 2 distinct societies living side by side, having their own culture, their own languages, within their own vessels, traveling the river of life together, but connected by a chain that held them together. The chain being continuously polished, meaning that continuous discussions and negotiations and treaty making, and allowing us to live, forever in that mode.
Just as the Iroquois in the past initiated peaceful relations with their neighbors, the people of Kahnawake discussed how they could reach out to the people in the surrounding communities after the 1990 crisis.
How could we bring people here? How could we build those bridges that would let other people know that that they're welcome to come here, and that how the Mohawks of Kahnawake were portrayed really was sensational. And so we started to talk about what could we do that would bring more people here. And we said, well, why not a powwow?
After 1990, there was so much sadness, so much distrust, so much misunderstanding. So a few people thought this would be a good idea to get a gathering like this to prove to ourselves, to teach ourselves that we are beautiful and great people, you see, and that we just don't understand one another. And that's what I do a lot of, is try to educate other people about our people.
A powwow is a thanksgiving to Mother Earth, a recognition of other peoples. It's a place to share your traditions and some basic values. And even though the powwow is not an Iroquoian tradition, it's a tradition where everyone can be involved, regardless of your faith. And so we thought, all the people around us, surrounding us, and the tourists that come here, this would be a grand opportunity to show them, that we honored them, and we invite them to come back to Kahnawake and to get to know the people. Meet some new people, build some new friends.
fellas a big hand. Come on over, boys. Come on over. Let us see your numbers. Don't take off.
I'm Sedelia Fazio. I'm a Mohawk from Ganawage. I've been dancing since I was 2 years old, approximately, and I'm competing in women's traditional and Iroquois smoke dance.
Why do you think it's important that we maintain our cultural traditions?
It's important because our children need to know. Like, for a long time, I had a lot of resentment towards my grandparents because I danced at the Indian village for so many years, and I felt like while everyone else in the community was out having fun and swimming and doing things that we couldn't do, I was stuck at the Indian village dancing. And today I'm grateful to my grandparents because I understood that this was the only way my grandparents could keep that culture alive in me.
And at our first powwow, we said, well, we recognize, that the powwow is a Western Plains tradition, a pan-Indian tradition. And one of the things that the cultural centers always try to promote is our language, our culture, our songs, and our dances. And we said, well, in order to welcome all these people who've traveled all these distances, we should have our own traditional gathering. And we had the first annual traditional Iroquois social dance, and each year since we've had it.
So I want to welcome everybody on behalf of the Ganawage of Ganawage, the Cultural Center, the Pow-wow Committee. I just want to say that I hope this evening will be pleasant and fulfilling and learning.
Social dancing coming up shortly. Thank you.
I think it's really a tribute to all our ancestors, to our culture today, to be able to gather here, invite people, participate in each of our ways. We all have different ways to participate, and I think it's something that everybody who gets involved, I think, gets lifted from it. Gets a lift from it and feels good about it. So, as I said, just to repeat it, the Cultural Center's main goal is to try to promote this aspect of our culture. So that we remember, so that people don't forget.
We had about 25 guys and one dog dancing that time.
A lot of people who have done sort of cultural studies have pointed to the fact that there's something unique about Mohawks in that they are singularly committed to self-sufficiency and independence as a traditional ideal. So if you think about self-sufficiency and independence, that has nothing really to do about politics. Has nothing to do with one particular political program or not. It's a spirit that somebody has, and that's, I think, what's kept us alive.
The Mohawks of Ganawage have been entrepreneurs. I think everyone is born with that spirit here. I'm really amazed when I meet people here. The entrepreneurial spirit and the drive is really tremendous. And we have currently 222 businesses, small businesses. And so that's quite extensive for a population of this size.
The entrepreneurial spirit is very evident among women in the community. Out of the 222 small businesses presently in operation, businesses owned and managed by women represent close to 1/3 of the total number. The spending power of the entire community is estimated at approximately $48 million a year. Golf is one of the major attractions.
Oh, sweetness!
The people of Kahnawake have maintained their tradition of self-sufficiency throughout history, in spite of repressive economic policies in the past, which blocked Aboriginal people from owning businesses or accessing capital to start a business. From the time of first contact with Europeans until now, they have successfully met the demands of the marketplace.
Right from the time that Europeans came here, Europeans wanted to have certain kinds of goods, and the Mohawks were always very ingenious and industrious and were able to meet the market that was there. I think the very important part of this powwow and getting together is that it's a real economic, I call it an economic adventure, because you could almost do anything here if you had the imagination as an entrepreneur, and we do have quite a few. And it's a way for people to use their traditional skills and their imaginations and creativity to have a business and to bring people here.
My name is Leonard Bordo. My Mohawk name is Dunyu, and it translates to a bald eagle. I'm 52 years old. I've been living in Kahnawake all my life. I started powwow dancing at a later age. When you're out there powwow dancing, it's like you're in a world of your own. You're psyched, and you just want to dance. You hear the drum music, and that's what it's all about. And you just start dancing. You forget about your shyness, and you just kick it up, and you have a good time.
How does it make you feel when you see the children out there participating?
It makes me feel real good because, as you know, they are our future. I am not the future for Kahnawake because I'm 52 years old now. But the younger ones, we have quite a few that have learned the dance steps, and they become good at it, and they get their regalia, and they go out there, and well, they're carrying the future for us.
The community of Kahnawake has witnessed tremendous historical, political, and social change, but throughout the centuries, they have remained committed to their identity as Mohawk people, as a community, and as a nation.
As modern as we get, we don't change our thinking. We don't change our beliefs. We still maintain what our people were doing originally in principle, if not in practice total, at least in principle. We still believe in those things that our ancestors believed in and brought us up to where we are right now.
Up next on K103 Ganawagi, Joe Dunham Joe, right here on the Monsanto Seaway, K103 Ganawagi.
Nega dine nya daga nega ge nega dine ne nya de kun ne jini ji rogata kun sukaya te su jini ji na jiri hundu o ko ni ka di no ji no wa su nega dine na ne agwe ko tai tin hora tu hun cha ge kha jina stika fu ha je sa gwe jini di na sero jina ho dan su jina ka di ko ri wa na wa.
Modernizing means changing our occupations, changing our lifestyles to a large degree, but still maintaining the principles and the cultural beliefs, still maintaining the language, and letting that creep into all of the things that we do within our community, the laws that we established, and the rules, the regulations that we set up have a very unique, different flavor to it than they would outside of the community. That's what I call modernization of traditionalism.
Well, it's a philosophy that says we have to adapt to the contemporary situation, but at the same time, just as important, we can't compromise the principles that have allowed us to survive as peoples for 400 years of contact. Our principles of survival are that we withstand the modern or the contemporary or the short-term pressures and defend the principles of our independence, because that's the only thing that's going to allow our nations to persevere.
Many of our people, especially Iroquois, it's not with any disrespect, but it's because of respect for our own nation that we do not consider ourselves Canadians. And if as soon as we make the transition and say from this day on, I consider myself a Canadian, then we stop being a Mohawk nation, because the nation itself, the allegiance has dissolved.
It's really a choice between me as an individual prospering and persevering, or having a commitment to the idea that our nation means something and that it's important to keep it alive. Because you or I or anybody else can prosper as an individual by assimilating, I think to a much greater degree and easier than by staying as an Indian committed to the idea of our nation. So it's somewhat of a sacrifice in a contemporary sense. But in the long term, it's a responsibility. So we have a responsibility not only to preserve our nations and the idea of that, but to bring the knowledge that our ancestors had on how to govern ourselves and how to lead a good life, bring that to other people.
Why do you dance?
Well, I dance because it's part of our heritage and our culture, and I think for me that's my contribution towards like myself and my community. And I'm kind of the community champ, smoke dancer. So you know.
What defines us most as a people is our traditional and spiritual and cultural beliefs, our long existence on the land and our close relationship to it, our language and our spiritual beliefs, and I guess the things that have been handed down to us generation after generation.
This doesn't make me Native, putting on a necklace, or the fact that I'm particularly brown or dark-haired. It's more to do with worldview, which is that's a very broad term, but it has to do with your beliefs, your values, what you value, what you reject, what you think is important, what is not important, and what you'll teach your children and what you'll hold them back from.
I think you can analyze it in many different ways, and you can look at it in terms of economic strategy, social movements and politics and all that, but to me it always boils down to just an ingrained and an intense pride in who we are and an unwillingness to bend and give up on that.
One of the things the people of Kahnawake have never given up on is their belief in their inherent rights as Aboriginal people.
Where do our inherent rights come from? It comes from our traditional beliefs. It comes from things such as the two-row wampum. It comes from the Great Law, the Goa. It comes from the creation story of our people and where we come from, and our long-standing existence over here, you know, long before the European has ever arrived. Combine all of that together, and that's what makes us what we are.
The strong belief in their inherent rights and their deep commitment to preserving their unique cultural identity and heritage has ensured their existence as a Mohawk community.
We still exist today, and it's amazing that we still exist today, being that we're 10 minutes from one of the greatest metropolitan areas in North America, and being surrounded by millions of different cultures and languages. But we still exist because of our strong beliefs in our history, in our culture. We still exist because we were able to survive even though our land base has been reduced from around 60,000 acres to 20,000 acres, although we've been imposed upon by different oppressive legislation, as well as land being expropriated and used for other means such as seaways, highways, and hydro tower lines and railways. Despite all of that, because of our resiliency, our willingness to adapt to our situation, not assimilate, we are able to survive, and we're able to take those things that have been imposed on us and use them to our advantage.
Being from Kahnawake means I am not only benefiting from all of the sacrifice that our people have put into surviving, but also have a responsibility to take it further. So the whole thing about benefiting, but then also have a responsibility from that. So whether you're playing lacrosse or going to school or just interacting with people on the outside, we were always taught that Mohawks are special. And whether that's true or not in an objective sense, the fact is we believed it. And to believe that we were special gives us that sort of advantage over other people who don't have that confidence. And that's what I always imagined myself as taking further. So it was never an idea where I'm just going to do something and sit back and fit in the outside society, or I'm just going to do the bare minimum and be another member of whatever organization. And I think this is generally true of all Mohawks, is that they want to be different. They want to do something that no one's ever done before. Or at the very least, we get criticism from a lot of other Native people that we always want to be in charge. So even if we're doing something that someone's done before, we want to be in charge of that something. And you know, it may be annoying to some other Native people that we're all in charge, but the fact is that comes from our upbringing that teaches us to not accept the minimum, to not accept the standard quo, and then to go forward and and enhance the pride of our people. And that's what being a Mohawk is to me.
I'd like to thank these dancers for setting the good example and dancing out with our colors. We thank you. We also would like a round of applause for our Native American color guard as they once again retire the colors here on our beautiful powwow. Thank you, gentlemen.